welcome everyone. I'm excited today to talk about document and record organizing and kind of getting your life affairs in order and also helping your clients do this. I think we're all looking for ways that we can help our clients in addition to maybe the physical organizing. This is an area that I know a lot of people may not like as much, and my hope is to educate you today and empower you in some really great ways that you can do this for yourself and also help your clients. So I'm going to start off with a little story. This is a picture I found from 2010. And my daughter was a little over a year old at the time, and I vividly remember this trip we did to Austin, Texas. So my husband and I went to Austin. I left my baby with my in-laws, and we went for like a long weekend, and then I also happened to be like newly pregnant at this time. And I remember sitting on the plane, coming home from this trip. I missed my little girl. We're on a plane, and I like basically have like an internal panic attack of like, oh my gosh, what if something happened to my husband and I? You know, those worries and those fears that we all have, not just about our children, but around family members. And all these questions are swirling around my head. Like, well, what if I became disabled? What if something happened on the plane? What if this? What if that? And I realized that I needed to have the answers to those questions. And that was really important for me, just to be able to not have that anxiety and to sleep at night, was to really sit down and plan that out and have the specific answers to that question so that when it pops up in my head, I know what the answer is. I've always been a person, I've always loved to like keep my life documents and stuff like that in order, but especially having kids, it just reminded me the importance. And also with aging parents and just, you know, the process of life, I think this is really important. And I bring up my personal story because, I mean, we're going to talk about organizing and everything, but I think we all have a story. We all have maybe someone in our life that we're concerned about, a spouse, a parent, a child. And our clients all have a story. They have things that they need to do to put things in order. And that's where the connection is really to what we're going to be talking about today. So these are some before and after pictures of my clients. And when I walk into a client's home, I'm sure you've seen these kinds of situations. A lot of times we're helping them organize the stuff, the clothes, the toys, the kitchen, the belongings, and most of our clients who need help organizing their physical stuff may also need help organizing their documents and records. You usually don't find someone with, you know, needing help in their house, but they say, oh, my documents are perfectly organized. So, you know, you all have, if you're working with a client or have worked with a client, you've earned their trust. They trust you, and this is an added value service that you can offer them. These are questions you can ask them and say, I can help you with this. So that's what we're going to be focused on today. Okay, I'd like objectives. I'd like to know what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about why it's important to get this organized and some of the risks involved for your clients or for you if this doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you a lot of stories because I don't necessarily like, I mean, I'm not going to give you like a legal breakdown, but I'm going to tell you some stories because I think stories help us kind of think about things. We're going to talk about 9 categories of information that need to be organized, and we're going to go in order of priority. So section 1 is kind of like the most important stuff, and then we'll go down the line. Just so you know, I am going to be giving everyone this document checklist with all 9 sections and a checklist of everything because I want you to be able to leave here today with something tangible that you can start for yourself, that you can start with your clients. So I'll be giving you that. And then I also just want to share, so when I first started my business, I was focused on working with seniors, and I couldn't find a resource that I loved to help them organize their documents. I looked all around, and so I decided to create one. So this is a binder packet that I've published, and all these 9 sections that we're going to go through represent the sections in here. And I do sell this, but mainly, I just want you to today to start thinking about this, and you'll get the free checklist, but I'm going to pass this around. I'd like to see that. So these are the 9 categories. Going to get the checklist, and then we're going to also, I wanted to address different methods and options for organizing information, because obviously we all have stuff in paper format, we have files, but then there's also the digital records and passwords and all that information. So we're going to talk about different methods and options for that. And I'm going to share with you my favorite secure way to manage information. So at the end, I'm hoping all of you have the knowledge, resources, and confidence to do this for yourself and offer this to your clients. Okay. So section 1 that's in my book is about just all your important documents. And this is looking at your healthcare directives, your power of attorney, wills, trusts, pulling all that information together. And I want to tell you a story. I had a client who I was helping with her paperwork, and her husband had just passed away. I was kind of helping her get all that stuff together, call all the companies, and she ended up having a fall and needing a hip replacement. She went to the hospital, and her husband had passed away. She didn't have any children. She actually had a nephew that she was in a lawsuit with, and didn't have any of this stuff in place. Who was there from her family to make decisions about her medical care? Who was there to pay her bills and manage her finances? And the family called me because I think she maybe had a little dementia, and then with the medication, she couldn't exactly take care of things. And they're calling me and they're like, well, we need to pay the bills. We don't want the electricity to get turned off, all this kind of stuff. And I could not help them because they didn't have a power of attorney to do that. And so I said, I'm really sorry. You're going to have to contact a lawyer. You're going to have to see what's involved to get a financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, and to figure that out. If she had just put this stuff in place before that happened, it would have been, she would have had the person named to make healthcare decisions, all of that. I'll also tell you a story about my dad. My dad always likes to think he's like healthy and vibrant, and he thinks positive and nothing's wrong. But after I developed this book, I actually did a workshop, and I told my dad, I said, Dad, you have to come to this because I want you to get your affairs in order for purely selfish reasons, because if something happens to you, I'm in charge. So I did have him do that, and he knew he had some health issues. We went to a routine doctor visit, and the doctor, my dad said, everything's going to be okay. The doctor comes back and says, you need a quadruple bypass, and we're admitting you today.
Wow.
So, and he's okay, everything's good, but I can't tell you the comfort that gave me as he's going through this process, and it ended up being a 6-week hospital stay, to know that all of this was in order to protect his wife, that we had everything documented. It was just such a relief, and he's doing great now, but we just never know what's going to happen. In terms of a will, I read an article on NOLO, which is like a legal website. So most people, it takes about a year to settle an estate, but when there are situations like family arguments, a large estate, ongoing income, litigation, it can last for years. So by creating a will, it just outlines the way things should be done, and it can save a lot of money, a lot of arguing, a lot of confusion. In terms of a healthcare directive, I read in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, 74% of people don't have a healthcare directive. And the main reason was lack of awareness. So I'm going to make you all aware today. This is one thing I found online. It's this company called The 5 Wishes. And they produce, this is a legal document. It's valid in 42 different states, and Florida is one of them. You can get it on their website for $5, or you can get it from me today for $5. But it's a full legal document that asks you questions about your medical care, who's to make healthcare decisions for you, who's the backup person. And this is a legal document that you can sign with 2 witnesses, and now you have that and it's in place and you can put it in your files. This is something important for anyone at any age, just to have in place. Okay, so these, and I'm going to give you this checklist. This is what's on your papers. Actually, can you just pass those out? Oh, so everyone has it. So these are some of the documents. Not everyone has to have every document. It's just kind of a reminder of, do you need this to have in place? But these are a lot of the important, more so legal documents and important information that you need to have in place. And the risks of not doing this is really maybe that you're not taking care of the way you want medically. You know, if you haven't named a person and shared your wishes, that no one's able to take over your financial affairs if you're in the hospital or something, that you know you want someone to be able to pay your bills and keep everything running, and just confusion. You know, when you put this all together, it just gives clarity to any situation you or your family may encounter. Okay, the second section of information I call biographical information. So these are things that we all need to have a copy of: our birth certificate,
Do you have more?
marriage.
Do you have
No, I think
How many more do you need?
Like 1, 2, 3, 4,
We can
5, 6.
We can email it out after.
Just share it. Yeah, you can email me if you want a digital copy. So we all have to have this stuff to manage our lives: our social security card, birth certificates, list of family members, medications, all that information. What I like about getting this organized and helping your clients organize this is just that you have a home for it. You know, you don't necessarily want to keep your passport like sometimes in this drawer and sometimes over here. That you have and you help your clients have a specific location where all of this is together and organized. I will tell you, when my first daughter was born, we wanted to name her after my grandmother, and who's still living, and everyone calls her Katie, but her name is Catherine. And so I wanted to know how she spelled her name, with a C or a K. And I asked my mom, I said, does grandma spell her name with a C or a K? The full Catherine, because Katie spelled with a K. She's like, I don't know, that's a good question. So I emailed her brothers. I'm like, is grandma's name Catherine spelled with a C or a K? And they didn't know, which was surprising to me. But a lot of things we just take for granted, you know? So this is biographical information. It's just information. It's with a C. And I spell my daughter's name with a K because I have a K name too. So, but I did eventually find out. So in this section, when you're helping clients, these are things you want to ask them about. Maybe they have citizenship papers. What's their birth date and birthplace? Making sure they document this. Passports, divorce documents, prenuptial, postnuptial, citizenship, military, adoption. Everything in this category, you want to make sure that you know where it is, that your family knows where it is, and that your clients have it pulled together. One of the big reasons to do this is because it's very difficult and time-consuming and costly to get copies of this when you don't have it. So if you want to go get a passport for this great trip, and you now can't find your birth certificate, so you have to go back and do that, it's just going to save you time. It's going to, this is going to help you be more organized with your information. I'm in a networking group, and a lawyer in our group, he's a traffic lawyer, he bought one of my books, and he told me, he said, anytime an important document comes in, he's like so excited because he's like, I know where to put it. And then his son was going to college and need a birth certificate. He's like, I know where to find it. So that's a great thing of bringing all this information together and having it in one location. Okay, the next section is about insurances. Health insurance, long-term care insurance, life insurance, homeowners insurance. We all have insurance. And we are basically paying for protection if something happens. That's what insurance is for. But if we accidentally lapse on paying our policy, it's not going to be there. If we can't find the information, the numbers, the documents of what's covered, what's not covered, we can't claim those benefits that we have set up and paid for. So insurance is obviously really important. If you are ill and in the hospital, you don't want your health insurance to not be paid and lapse, right? Disability insurance, if you have that and you become disabled, you want whoever's taking care of you to know about it and to find it so they can help you. So these are all important things to have in place. I will tell you a personal story, which is a little embarrassing, but I think a good illustration. So I periodically kind of go through and organize my information, and my homeowner's policy had come up for renewal, so I was making sure that's all taken care of. And while I was on the phone, I asked them about my flood insurance, and they said, "Oh, you don't have flood insurance. It was canceled last year." And I was shocked because we live near water and it's important for me to have flood insurance. And I said, "Why didn't I get any notices about this?" And they said, "Oh, well, we mailed it to this address, my last address before I moved, twice, two mailings to your former address, which I never got." So I was able to reinstate it and everything. But the point is, even for those of us who may be on top of things and organized, it is just so easy to lose track of a little thing or to have something go wrong. So by bringing this together, having it in a system, being able to review it periodically, you're gonna, it can save you from a situation like this. So these are the different kinds of insurance on the checklist. I wanted to share a little statistic about life insurance, because there was a 60 Minutes on CBS that was done where they investigated life insurance companies, and they found that a lot of companies acknowledged in their files that a person had passed away, because they get feeds from Social Security, the Social Security numbers of people who have passed, so they have it in their records, this person passed away, but they neglected to investigate or to pay the claim. So they weren't calling the wife of the person, they weren't letting the family know, and 25 of the nation's biggest life insurance companies agreed to pay $7.5 billion back in benefits, and 35 are still under investigation and haven't settled. So my point is with that, no one is going to come knocking on your door if something may happen to your spouse, your parent, whatever. No one's going to come knocking on your door with a check. You need to have this information available, know what it is for your family members, because you have to be able to call, have the number, get a form, and be able to fill it out. No one's going to come for you. And that goes for everything. I mean, all your insurances, your bank accounts. That's why this is so important. Okay, the next section is financial assets and income sources. So these are all your bank accounts, retirement accounts, government benefits, bonds, online accounts. I read an article on CNN. The unclaimed cash and benefits in the U.S. is, and this is from 2013, is $58 billion. $58 billion of money just sitting there because they didn't know who it went to, whatever that, they didn't have it set up so that their family could get it, or they lost track of an account. I have a pension plan. I ended with this company in 2013. They send me one statement a year of this money that I'm entitled to. When I moved to Florida, I actually forgot to change my address with this, because I get one statement a year, it's in the back of my mind, and something was forwarded. I mean, I have records of it, but the point is, it's just, someone who has a retirement account from 1975, where is that? Do we even know we have it? So this can help you with that. The other thing is, I had a story of a family member where someone had passed away. He was named the executor of the estate. He had the legal documents saying I'm the executor. He had the bank statements of the person's name and their account number. He went to the bank, and they gave him problems getting access to the money. So even though he had everything, it can still be a challenge. So, and he was able to get access, but the more information people have and that's organized, it's going to help them. Okay, so look at this. So I tried to put together a comprehensive list of financial assets and income sources, and this is everything. Now, not everyone is going to have everything, but I wanted the list to be as comprehensive as possible because, we forget what we have, and it's easy to let things fall through the cracks. So, bringing all this together. And regarding the $58 billion in unclaimed property, I had a client who his dad had passed away, and he told me his dad had no assets. When he passed away, there was nothing left. They'd used all the assets. We went into Florida unclaimed property and found 6 accounts totaling $9,000. So simple website search, went through, found that, and paid for him to get organizing services to, give him some extra money. So,
What was the name again?
Yeah.
Florida. Oh yeah, just Google Florida unclaimed property. It's just a database, so you can look up.
I've done it, and I didn't get any money.
There's that side of it
I
too.
checked my family members too.
$68, but I did.
Hey, at least you tried.
Maybe they were organized and everything, got distributed. So property and business interests, so real estate, vehicles, boats, jewelry. Most of us have a business in place in some shape or form. So it's just, again, just documenting this information and helping your clients, if they have a vacation home or rental property or expensive artwork, helping them document all of that. And under here is vehicles as well. I had a family member who was in the hospital, and she wanted to, it was a terminal situation, she wanted to give her car to her nephew. And all that needed to be done while she was alive and could do this was to get the title and to sign it over to him. It was a very simple 5-minute process. They had trouble finding the title. I don't remember exactly what happened with it, if it was done before or after, but, they just wanted that simple process. She wanted to give it to this person while she was alive, and all she needed was the title, to the car. So we, may have cars, real estate, business interests. It's just good to have all of this in place. A lot of my clients tell me with jewelry, artwork, specialty items, they're like, well, I don't know if that's worth something. And most of the time I'm like, I don't know either. And we don't want to give away a $10,000 painting to the thrift store. We also don't necessarily want to hold on to something that's, not worth anything if we need to clear it out. So having those appraisals and everything together is good. I actually have a client who has a piece of artwork where the dad didn't have the receipt, so they can't prove the authenticity. So he's flying to Arizona to see the 90-year-old son of the painter to try to get this verified.
Oh, wow.
Because it is worth a lot. But, if he had the original documentation, we wouldn't have to worry about that. Okay, this is not a favorite topic of everyone. But looking at your credit cards, mortgages, loans, utilities, like in that example where I had a client go into the hospital, same thing for my dad. When, if you're in there for weeks and weeks and weeks, you need someone to be able to take care of your affairs. You need someone who's going to pay the bills so your power doesn't get turned off. So having this together is great. Also, if your wallet gets stolen, it's nice to have a record of every credit card and what the numbers are so you can call. And then also just having this centralized, like if you go through and document this, your bills, knowing when they're due, you're less likely to have to pay late fees. And same thing for your clients. You can help them kind of set things up and organize into a system. Every 2 weeks you're going to do this to help them not have to pay late fees. So these are all the categories of different loans and debts and utilities and bills and all of that. I also, when I was going through this process, I was also looking at documenting what is on automatic pay, what account it's coming from, versus what am I paying online where I have to do something. So, there are different ways to pay these and to have it documented, what's being paid where, which account it's coming out of, all of that. Okay. So number 7 is a catch-all for other important records. And a big one here is your online accounts and passwords. And I'm going to go into a little bit more depth with that. What's interesting in the new digital age is we have all these great online accounts, statements online being emailed to you. That means that if something happens to you, there is no papers. There's no bank statement for Kendra from this bank or that bank. There's no documentation of my life insurance policy because it's auto-debited and it's all online statements. And so that creates kind of a unique problem that, we may forget what we have, others may not know what we have if there's not paper. So, pulling together these online accounts and passwords and having a way to document those, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I realized, as I was preparing for this presentation, I was like, I don't think I know the password to my husband's computer. That would be nice to know. I think I know what it is. But I realized I need to ask him for that. I need to document it and put it in my notebook because, those are things we forget about. What's the password to our phone? What's the password to our computer? Can other people find where to get that information? And also in the section, tax records. Where are previous tax records? There are 1.1 billion in unclaimed tax refunds. This is as of 2014. So a lot of our clients may need help with pulling together records and documents for taxes, also just helping them make sure, where are the past few years, where is it located, and having that information organized. And then there's also a safe deposit box. Where's the key for this? What's the inventory? A lot of these, go unclaimed because people forget about them. So this section 7 just has a lot of things in it just to think about, even points, rewards, subscriptions. Someone in my family has a airline account where he has 60 flights on it to use. So we set it up as a family account so that we can, all share in that. But that's another type of asset which we wouldn't normally think about. So when I was designing this binder system, I thought, okay, if you go through sections 1 through 7, you basically have all the information to create a budget. You have all your assets and income, you have all your bills and your debts, and everything's there to just kind of create a monthly budget, a flow of what's coming in each month and what's going out. And so I included this as something that can be great to do for people. I actually had a client who hired me just to help her do a budget. And so I have this spreadsheet that has all the different categories that we spend money on. There's a lot, hundreds. And so she went through this, she kind of documented it, and she told me, she said, I realize a lot of areas where we're just spending money that we don't need to. And it's going to be a great tool for her and her husband to talk about their goals, what she wanted to change. So a month later, we had a follow-up, and I said, how did it go this month? What was the impact of our meeting? Did you make any changes? She said, we saved over $2,000 in the past month.
Wow.
Of just the thing of going through what they're spending, cutting expenses, changing accounts. Do we really need to spend X amount on cable and internet? Is there a lower package that would meet our needs? And she seemed to indicate they were going to continue saving that. So taking the time to just go through, and this is important with our clients too, something we can help them with, is because a lot of maybe more so seniors who are on limited income, it can just be hard for them to figure out, well, this is, they may be on a fixed income where they only have a certain amount a month, and helping them strategize, where they may be able to cut cost and make everything balance up.
Question?
Yeah.
Would you sell that Excel thing that you have with all the categories of how you spend money?
Yeah, it's in my book too.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
How much is your book?
it's $40, and I take cash or credit card. It's $50 online, because I have to pay. Yeah, I have some today. Online it's $50 because shipping is expensive, so if you want one, get it now to not pay shipping. And I wanted to look up some statistics on financial literacy. 1 in 4 people are not saving for retirement, according to Forbes, and 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account.
65?
69.
69% of people don't have $1,000 in their savings.
Right.
Wow.
So, and I will tell you, I was going through my monthly budget and I saw my phone or cell phone bill, and I thought, it just seems like a lot. Let me see if I can, is there another plan, And I went through and I was able to find another plan that was $40 less a month. Well, that's almost $500 a year, and for a lot of people that don't have $1,000, I mean, that can be the difference. So this is, again, something, if your clients are disorganized in other areas of their life, this is something, and you don't have to buy my book. You can go online and look for a budget worksheet, but just sitting down and taking the hour to have the conversation and helping them work through it and talk through it can just be so helpful for them. So basically, income versus expenses, that's what it's about. And then lastly, I created a section about end-of-life planning. This can be about arrangements, your wishes, your obituary, your legacy letter. I talked to a woman who, she worked for a funeral home and she did pre-planning sales. So she would meet with people who wanted to pre-plan everything, pay for it, have it all set up and ready to go. She said at their home, when it was done after the fact, a lot of times there were delays because of family feuds over what the person wanted. And none of us, we don't want that. We want people to be able to celebrate our life and to not be under stress of family arguments. And I did. She told me a story of a client who, when her mom passed away, she called a number and it was done. And she could, spend her time grieving, meeting with family. She didn't have to worry about that. I personally have not done this for myself, I'll be honest. I think it becomes more of an issue if there's major illness or if you're older. I want, some people in my life to do that, or at least to just state what they want so I can be clear. And this kind of actually goes back to the 5 wishes, but my grandmother actually has severe dementia. She's in a home, and before while she still had her mental capacities, my mom had her fill this out, because my mom's worked with a lot of seniors. She knows about this stuff. She had this filled out. And my mom showed me a copy of this that my grandmother wrote when she still had her mental capacities. And it said, do you know what's going to happen to you? She said, I'm going to go to heaven. She wants a do not resuscitate order because, she doesn't have a quality of life now. But when my mom has to go make those decisions for her, she knows exactly what she wanted, and she has her written word for that. And I know for my mom, that's just such a comfort if she has to make any of those decisions, that she knows exactly what my grandmother wanted.
Question.
Yeah.
Have you found it easier or harder or the same to do that with your family versus a client?
Family's harder.
Yeah, I think family's harder.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, because I think with a client I have less, I'm more detached, you know? But I think, you know, a lot of people, it may be hard to have these conversations, but at the same time, once you have it, there's a sense of relief, you know? That, oh, we've talked about this. I know what my mom wants. I know. And then when the decision time comes, you've already had that conversation. You know what the answers are. I read this quote. One of the best gifts you can give to your family is to make decisions and communicate those decisions. And that's, you know, what a lot of this is about. So in the next segment, I'm going to be talking about digital information, password, and online account storage, because I know that's a big thing. But at this point, we've kind of gone through the 9 sections in the checklist, and I just wanted to open up for questions if anyone has.
Not so much a question,
Yeah.
but just to reiterate all the things you've said. My story, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. My mother, we had everything set up in a trust. I was able to sell her home, totally close out her estate, distribute everything where she wanted it to go in 2 weeks.
Wow.
My father-in-law passed away almost 3 years ago, and we're still going crazy trying to finalize this stuff.
Right.
So,
Is it because he didn't have a trust? Because is a trust different than a will, right?
oh,
So a
absolutely,
trust is
Yeah.
gonna just do it all, right?
exactly. So,
Everything?
yeah, actually, you need five documents. If you're gonna do a trust, that's always the easiest. The trust, you need a living will, the healthcare surrogate,
Power of attorney.
huh?
Power of attorney.
Yeah, the durable power of attorney, and I think we're
Did you
good.
say the
Multiple
trust?
or
Pardon me?
multiple-
Did you say the trust?
Yeah,
Okay, revocable
there's
or
one other one
revocable.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, if you've got all those pieces in place, it's like a cinch.
Right.
Plus, you know what they want, because you've had the conversation and they've got it all documented.
And you're not scrambling around trying to find stuff. I mean, who wants to like go to Wells Fargo and SunTrust is anything
Well, my
here,
father-in-law
you know?
had 4 life insurance policies.
Right,
And one of them, we still have not been able to get the information on.
right. And it's very time consuming and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, because we've heard a lot of like talks similar but not the same. Everybody always brings up the fact that you may have made a decision and signed a document, but when something changes, you need to, or if somebody passes away and they were in charge, clearly you got to pick somebody up.
Yes.
And then the other story I wanted to say is that my mom's brother passed away from cancer, and his wife decided to cremate him. But my grandmother and his 3 sisters were not clear that that was what he wanted. They didn't think that's what he wanted, and it became like a family problem. So we should have all done this, but we're Cuban, and you don't really talk about death until you're dead. So I think there's like a cultural difference, because my American client has had it like set, and she brought her son in on every bank account, and like she's been planning to die for a while.
My mother's been planning to die for 10 years.
Are all of these important documents valid outside of the state of Florida?
What doc,
Like
what,
the power of attorney, a living will?
you'd have
all of
to
those-
talk to a lawyer about that. I
Yeah,
don't-
usually it's
Yeah.
whatever state they reside in is the rules you have to follow,
Okay.
typically.
And also after 10 years, a will changes. There's something about that after 10 years. It could be probated, there's changes to
Yeah,
You want to avoid probate
At
if
any
you possibly
cost.
can.
because it's costly.
When we moved from Maryland, we had done one when my daughter was before that age of the picture, but we had lived in Maryland, and the laws are different in each state. So when we moved here, we redid ours to update it because it was like 9 years old, and there can always be new laws in place, and also to make sure it met all the Florida requirements. And I do want to say, if I have a friend who sells a legal product where you pay monthly for legal services, and it includes getting a will and this paperwork done. It's a small fee. I pay for it for my personal life and for my business. But if you want more information, I can tell you afterwards. But it's a very cost-effective way if you don't want to, pay whatever amount it ends up being to a lawyer to do all of this. You can get it done, at a more reasonable cost. Yeah.
Sorry, one
Yeah.
last thing. I don't know if it was on there, but it's a newer thing. is that I know a teenager who passed away in a car accident and her Facebook is still active. And
Right,
sometimes you don't want that or whatever. I don't know how the family can take it off if they felt like it.
right, it's, yeah,
There was something on Facebook not too long ago, it asked me, like, if
Right.
you want somebody to take over, and I put my daughter, and I sent her a text, I'm like, I'm willing you my Facebook account or something. She's like, oh, thanks, Mom.
Yeah, Facebook
so
sent it
that's
out
in my
a year
book.
ago.
There's,
that.
there's a legacy
I sent it to my
contact on
sister, she's
Facebook
like,
that you
"What?
can set up.
Yes.
If you don't have that, my understanding is very hard on social media accounts to take them down or get control of them. But Facebook does have something in place. It's called the
Also
legacy
PayPal.
contact.
A lot-
But you have to set it up and put the person in to give them that control.
Also PayPal, a lot of people have money in PayPal.
Right.
If you don't know the password or how to get in, that money, bye-bye.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So any other questions before I move on? Yes.
I bought Kendra's book and I really highly recommend it. It seems a little bit, to me, a little bit overwhelming at first, but the thing to do is just put those records by those tabs to get started, and then you'll be able to find them. We've talked about this before. Some of you think, well, my records are online with the bank, but check with the bank. They might only last there for 3 years, because I've looked into this. So what you need to do is each month put those PDFs in a file someplace else, so that you will have them for however many years you want them. And another thing from my experience as a caregiver, that do not resuscitate order can both help you and hurt you. If your loved one, is viable and has their cognitive abilities but still has a do not resuscitate order, this nursing staff do not have time to go look at the paragraph that says if they can't breathe, if they can't, if their brain is dead, do not resuscitate. They don't look at that. They just see do not resuscitate, and they don't end up, what happens is they don't take as good care of your loved one as they would have if they didn't see that. So I know a lot of people who just don't mention that one because of the circumstances, and just bring it out when the time comes.
Right. Or give it to the person who's in charge of making medical decisions.
Right.
Just give it to them to, yeah. Go ahead.
How do you answer the question? So here you have a book with all your important papers and numbers and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
How do you safeguard it?
I personally, I keep mine in a safe in my house. I think, yeah, it's a challenge, even whether it's online or paper copies, we all have information. You probably have a lot of this information already, it's just not in one place, it's like someone would have to go through your files to find it. So yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be risks, however you keep your information. So I think you have to think about ways to,
My one
Yeah.
thought was, okay, my safe is not big enough, but to cover it with something else, and then let your family members know that
Right.
that is, just
Right.
so it's not visible, oh, there.
right. Someone told me a story, her mom said, when it's time, when I'm gone, in my nightstand drawer is everything you need. And the friend of mine went in, and it was the drawer, and everything was there, and it was just like such a relief to her that she didn't have to go through that 3-year process, that it was there, and like what a gift to leave. But yeah, you have to figure out what's best for you. You can get a safe deposit box, but that's kind of a pain to go back and forth when you're like putting documents in. And you also it's on a page in my book, but there are certain documents you cannot store in your safe deposit box, like your will, because your will gives people access to your safe deposit box, and it creates a lot of problems. So you got to know what to store there and what not to store there. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of information, and I know, let me see where I am on time. I know it feels overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, I have,
Lots of work to do.
yes, it's a lot of work to do. I am like
Yes.
leaving here really stressed out. So my suggestion is, you don't have to do this all at once. It's just something to have in your mind. Maybe you make an appointment with yourself 1 day a week for an hour to just start. Just start with section 1. Like I said, I put them in order of priority. So section 1 is just like your legal stuff. Whatever you end up having, if you need to get something else, make the appointment. You just go step by step. Just like when we go into a client's house and the whole thing, needs organizing, and it's like, where do I start? It's the same thing with this, and you just start one step at a time. It's an iterative process. Things change. You get new documents, you get new accounts. Once you've kind of set this structure in place, you now have a place to plug everything in, which is really nice. But the goal here is not to leave stressed out and worried. It's to hopefully educate and share some tools and resources and help you and help your clients get started. You know, you just start at step one and you kind of go through. Doesn't have to be done in a day. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, and what time am I supposed to be done here?
12:30.
12:30, okay, good. So I wanted to talk a little bit about,
12:15.
10:30.
Oh,
it doesn't matter, I'll be
Yeah,
done in 15
yeah,
minutes.
I don't know.
So paper versus electronic, I just wanted to kind of discuss some of the pros and cons. So with paper, obviously it's in a physical format. There's a paper, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can sort it. It's easy to identify. With electronic documentation, whether it's PDFs on a computer or passwords, you need to either have a password to that computer, you need to know that it's there, you need to know where to find it. Paper could be destroyed by natural disaster. So if I have this book, I mean, that's why I keep it in a fireproof and waterproof safe, but it still could be, destroyed. Whereas if you have something digitally, it could also be destroyed, but if it's stored in the cloud, it's going to be backed up and more likely that you can find it. So it's just kind of, for different information, kind of weighing these pros and cons. Your paper is only accessible in the location of the papers. So if you live in Florida and someone else lives in North Dakota, they're going to have to come here to get the papers. Electronic could be accessible anywhere with a password and by multiple people if multiple people need access. With paper, some documents do require originals. So even if you wanted to go all digital, you can't. You need to keep originals for certain, especially legal documents. Whereas electronic, you can scan them, you can have that as a backup, but obviously if you're printing it, it's not an original. Paper could only be stolen from the location of the paper. So it would take someone breaking into your house and getting into your safe and getting it. Whereas electronic data, if you don't have the right security measures in place, or if there's a breach, it could be stolen anywhere. And then paper is easier for some people to manage, especially seniors. It's just easier to understand and put together. And electronic, maybe for younger people, is easier to manage, but it is time consuming to kind of enter in your data into a system. And then with paper documentation, it may be difficult to prove your access to accounts and information. And what I mean by that is like the situation with my family member who went to the bank with all the legal documents and they're giving him a hard time. Whereas if he had the ID and password, he has direct access. Now, I don't know the legalities of that, but the fact is with passwords, as long as you have password security answers, you can get access to the information. So when you're looking at this for yourself and for others, these are just some of the different things we all have to weigh. Some people keep it in multiple places, but a lot of it can be a personal preference or just kind of assessing your own risk factors and comfort level.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like when you call AT&T, they're like, "What was the name of your first grade teacher?" Or "What's your favorite dog?" And it's like, I've had 5 dogs, I don't remember. So imagine if it was my husband calling,
Yes, yes.
And that
Okay.
changes a lot. You change them sometimes too.
Yeah, exactly. So with paper options, I have my book, which I already mentioned. Obviously, you can do this in a file cabinet with file folders and an at-home safe. So the checklist that all of you have, you can label folders and just start checking through. You can put it into files. You can, for your clients, if they already have a file cabinet or files in place, you can just help them reorganize it so it's kind of in a one-stop shop area. Binders, folders, I think a lot of us know how to organize, but I did give you the checklist because I think kind of having the sections just helps to have kind of a structure to it. Obviously you can save things digitally. So you can save things on a computer hard drive. One of the a pro is that it's only accessible in your house, so someone would have to take your computer, most likely, to get access to that. But others would need access to your password, know where stuff is in the computer. If your computer could be destroyed or stolen if you only have the information there. There are some specialty online repositories for this kind of information. Everplans is one of them. It's great. It's where you upload everything online. You can set up family members, all of that kind of stuff. It's $75 a year, and so for me personally, I mean, I hope to live like another 60 years. I didn't want to pay 75, times that. So for me, that wasn't a good option. But I think for some people who like the benefits of that, that can be a great source. And then a cloud-based system. So if you don't want to put all your files on your hard drive, you can put it in the cloud somewhere, potentially give family members access to it. I know a lot of people use Dropbox. I use Dropbox for personal file, like just Word documents and stuff. But if you look into the security, it wouldn't be great for like financial accounts and legal documents. I personally use ShareFile by Citrix. That's where I actually don't store anything on my computer. I store it on the cloud, but I use ShareFile because they're used by a lot of big name financial companies, and they have the security and the encryption and all of that in place. So there may be others, but if you're gonna store information that would be dangerous if it was stolen, just make sure that you're really researching and understanding what tool you're selecting. Okay, and now I'm going to go a little bit into password managers. Who uses some kind of secure password manager? Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about LastPass because that's what I use and what I'm familiar with. There are lots of great companies out there. I took this screenshot from PC Magazine of the best password managers for 2018. So obviously you can research them, you can look at pricing, you can figure out what's best for you. I'm going to show you the features of LastPass today, just so you know what's there, but these same features may be in other platforms as well. I did use another password manager before this, and I liked LastPass better, so that's why I switched to it. It is free for single users, so you can sign up, create an account, it's free. If you want to share information with other people, their sharing feature is $2 a month. So I have an assistant for my organizing business and another business I have who has to log into a lot of accounts. So I would just share the information securely with her LastPass account. So that was a nice feature. And then it's $4 a month for families with up to 5 accounts. So that's what I have now. So my husband and I have shared passwords, and then we each have our own individual accounts, which I'll show you more about. Some of the things you want to look for in a password manager, and that you also want to use, is two-factor authentication. I recommend you do this for any important account, and especially your email, to use two-factor authentication. You might think, who cares about my email? Why would someone want to read whatever, what random stuff I'm sending on email? Your email is how you reset your password. So if someone has access to your email, they can go to the different banks and reset your password and lock you out of it. So two-factor authentication is great for your important accounts. If the account offers it, I say use it. Basically, it uses 2 sources to verify your identity. So a lot of times you log in with a password and then you get texted a code, or you have an authenticator app on your phone that gives you the code. So for my LastPass, if someone found out the password, they still cannot get in because they have to have a number that's generated on my phone as well, and then they have to have a password to get into my phone. So it's like, it makes it more complicated. You can also, a lot of the password managers uses fingerprint security. So when I go to LastPass on my phone, I put my thumb here and it lets me in. Won't let other people in. And
Mine won't let me in.
just always have a password on your computer and your phone. You know, if your phone gets stolen, you don't want someone to just be able to like click your email and whatever, start sending stuff or changing things. So real quick, the LastPass, when you want to add a new entry, it gives you all these different options, and most of these things are things I've utilized: passwords, notes, your credit card, your bank account, your driver's license, passport, social security number, insurance policies, Wi-Fi password. So all this kind of data that's listed here, you can store securely in a password manager. I don't store addresses in there. I keep my contacts in Google Contacts, but everything else pretty much I've, set up something for. So those are all the different types of accounts. And what I like for it is like payment card. It has a name. What's the name of the bank? Is it a Visa or MasterCard? What's the number, the expiration date? It's prompting you, to fill in that information. Yeah.
Question. So like Equifax had a breach.
Mhm.
What's to secure that this doesn't have a breach?
It could have a breach. I think because that's what their business is, they have a lot of security measures in place. But yeah, anything. I feel better with the password managers that I've researched that get like all these IT awards and security awards. I've actually dealt with Equifax on various things, and I don't think their systems were set up very well.
No choice though. It's all
Right.
we-
Right.
Does LastPass generate new passwords? Because there's other people that do, other companies that do that.
Yes, so that's what this is. This is what I do. I have a different password pretty much for every single account.
They do it.
Yeah, you click on this password generator. You can set the length, because some say it has to be 8 characters or more. It can't be more than 16. You can set if you want it to have numbers and symbols or not. And I just copy paste it in. So you can, if you're wanting to set up different passwords, which is recommended, this just gives you a way to generate a randomized password.
So where do you put them so you can find them
Yeah,
to
how do
open
you
the
know
account?
them? Like,
They're all saved in LastPass.
let's say you lose your computer or you lost your phone, or then what? You log
Then
into
I log,
LastPass?
yeah.
You have to
What
write
happens if
that.
you get your LastPass passed?
Well, that's the one you have to remember.
But you only have to remember
This is
one.
the question now.
Yeah.
So you have a password to get into your LastPass.
Right.
Yeah.
What if that's breached?
Well, they'd have to have my phone.
Okay, so
Right.
you
She
have
doesn't
to-
work for them, you guys.
I mean, there's always
Right,
a risk.
There's the two.
So you have to weigh, do I want to keep everything centralized and organized versus,
It's like, it's so frustrating.
right, if you use the same password for every account,
Yeah, it's frustrating.
you have, yeah, go ahead, Tatiana.
No, I have something funny. I've had Wells Fargo since 2002. I don't even remember the last time they made me change my password. Yet, like jazzercise and all these stupid things, it's like every 6 months change your password. So I guess they have a better system, obviously, in Wells Fargo, but it's just kind of weird.
Well, they have too many people and they don't have time to update and send these updates.
So that resource is available it's in there. The other thing I love is it has auto login from web browsers on my phone. And what I mean by this is I really don't ever have to type in this crazy password, because when I'm on my computer, this little thing shows up. I actually have 3 accounts with SunTrust, so if I click on that, it just allows me to pick the account as long as I'm already logged into LastPass. So if you open my computer, somehow hacked in and tried to use it, you would still have to log into LastPass before it would give you those drop downs. The same thing on my phone. They put in the technology, so you're not typing in passwords. It's all, once you get into the system, they try to make it as simple as possible. The other thing you can do is add attachments. So this is my passport information entry. So I listed everyone, our family, our passport numbers, our expiration dates, and then I also uploaded PDFs. So that if we're traveling, if we lose something, I now also have my password on my phone, but it's stored securely. It's not just an image on my phone. And this is just to show you some of the features. You don't have to, it's just to be aware that these are some of the things. I personally, I randomize all my security questions with a random password. So that's my mother's middle name, my father's middle, my city born. Because there's something called social profiling or something. Because your mother's maiden name may be part of public record. The street you grow up on may be part of public record. So and what I do is I store these in the notes. So like when I go to SunTrust, it automatically logs me in with my username and password. And then if it asks me a security question, I just copy paste that in, and then I have it.
But you have to remember those passwords.
No,
No, they have it in there too?
It's all
No,
in
I
LastPass.
copy paste it into my notes. It's just in my notes. So I can copy paste it. I just wanted to share the individual versus family. So these are these are the categories I set up for my personal stuff, credit cards,
This
business.
is inside of
Yeah,
LastPass?
yeah. So you can set up categories based on whatever categories you want to organize your information. These are mine. And then these are ones that I share with my husband. My husband has not gone in and entered my kids' social security numbers and all the important information. That's I do most of that. But the nice thing is, all of that is in a folder called Shared Family Information. When he logs into his LastPass, he can see all of that. So and he can add stuff to it so I can see. So sometimes we're like, what's the password to the electricity? Oh, it's in LastPass. So the shared account allow you to have multiple users. All my kids are 7 and 9. There's 25 passwords between them for various school accounts and stuff. So that's in the family information, so if either of us need it. So these are just some of the features,
My dad.
to know about. The last thing I wanted to share, which I love that they have this, is you do. You gotta go to I don't know, it's under security and people I trust. So there's something you can set up. This is one of the big values of this, because I know where all my information is, I know where to find it. But if something happens to me, how do other people get access? So there's something called People I Trust, and you set up an email. They have to create an account with LastPass, even if they don't use it, they just create an account. So the first person is my husband. He has a waiting period of 24 hours. I think that might have been the least you can do. And then this is the person who would be taking care of my children. They have a waiting period of 14 days, a family member. And so what happens, because I did it on my husband's phone yesterday, I went to his LastPass and I requested access to Kendra's information, like if I went to the hospital or something, he needed access. So when I logged in on both my computer and my phone, it immediately said, your husband requested emergency access. They will receive access in 24 hours if you don't deny it. So this person, they have to wait 2 weeks. So if for whatever reason I never log into my account in 2 weeks, they would get access. But I think it's, so a lot of my information I do have organized in my binder with documents, but this is also a really important piece that in 2 weeks, he's in, he gets everything. So that's
He
just
gets your LastPass password.
he gets access to my
Everything.
595 accounts because he's going to be responsible for
Your kids.
figuring that out. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm gone, you got it all.
So my final thoughts, like I said, I mean, you might be mind blown, oh my gosh, I don't have any of this in place. It's, the idea here is just to start with a little bit. If you like the idea of LastPass, maybe you download it on your phone later today, play with it. If you're helping a client, get started with organizing things, you start with those most important documents. So it's just to get started. It's an iterative process and it requires ongoing maintenance. Like I said, I don't have everything together. I was like, do I know my husband's password? I should ask him and write that down. And then doing this for yourselves and helping your clients do this for their families is just a gift of love. When we think of the time it takes us to document this, it would take someone else 10 to 20 times longer to figure it out. So by doing it, by doing it while we're of sound mind, body, getting this in, it's going to make it easier for you as well as your family in the future. And yes.
Sorry, but if a client's asking you, I mean, you're like, this is gonna take 100 hours, like, how do you do this for a person when it takes so long?
I mean, for me, I charge by the hour. I don't do a package deal, so because I have no clue how long this is going to take them. But it just depends on their level of comfort. Like, it can be an accountability thing where you say, we're going to meet for 2 hours once a month, and in between, I'm going to give you homework. We're going to write out a checklist, helping them stay accountable to do it. If they want you there by their side, I mean, a lot of people, their life stuff may not be as complex, it just depends. Maybe it's just getting the top 10% of stuff organized, like your will, your life insurance policies, whatever. Maybe that's good enough for some people. So it just depends on their goals, their needs, and what's going to work for them in terms of getting them there. Yeah.
LastPass, you said you download it on your phone or phone and computer?
Both. It's accessible both places.
And is it free? I have it, but
It is
that's a
free
free
for
version.
one user. If I want the feature where my husband and I are sharing folders, I pay for that. $4 a month. Yeah, it's $50 a year, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Do you have a thing on NAPO.net where you market yourself as whatever you call this?
I had
Like,
no
is there-
idea you did this, Kendra.
Yeah. it's-
No,
Oh,
yeah, like
I don't
is-
know,
Is there
I
a
don't
click
know.
box?
I've
for the
seen
people
on Point where you posted things about it.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. I don't
That's
know.
amazing.
Yeah.
But it's something any of you, can, offer to help your clients with this. And you may not feel like an expert. You do not have to answer legal questions. You do not have to answer accounting questions. You can tell them, I don't know the answer. You'd have to talk to a lawyer about that. That's okay. But most likely, if you can organize closets and you can organize kitchens and you can unpack and sort, you are better prepared to help guide them through this than they can do it themselves. And like I said, sometimes it's just the accountability. It's just having a standing meeting and saying, okay, let's get these main documents together on just this little first checklist. And where should we put them in the house? How do we want to sort them? And yeah, you don't have to have all the answers to help other people. You don't have to be an expert. I say do it for yourself and you can help other people. And this can be a huge savings to your clients of tens of thousands of dollars. It can save family feuds, it can save years in court, it can save heartache, it can save thousands of dollars for lawyer fees going through probate. Like I said, doing it now is always 10, 20, 50 times easier than trying to do it later. And I wanted to end with a quote, so I was like, I gotta go find a good quote. And I love this one. Let our advanced worrying become advanced thinking and planning. And that's the story I told in the beginning about being on the plane. My worrying, I just decided to turn that into action. I did not do it all in a day. It's like I've been doing it for 10 years, trying to pull together all the pieces. I did the most important stuff first. But just use that to motivate you to take that 1 hour a week or to sit down with your spouse or your parent or use that to motivate you to say, hey, I'm worrying about this. Let's just let's start with these 3 things. Let's get that in place, or let's have a communication about this. So that's my presentation.
Thank you, that was so good.
So helpful.
What a great speaker.